of course, the beautiful First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities. We also encourage all Canadians to consider how they can personally contribute to Canada's reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. And now the Innovation Speaker Series here aims to foster collaboration and knowledge exchange amongst diverse stakeholders passionate about addressing climate change. So today we welcome Ben from BetterTable. He is a founder and CEO of BetterTable, which is a Vancouver-based benefit company helping hotels and restaurants waste less and earn more. With a career dedicated to mitigating the climate impact of global food systems, Ben has spent a decade driving measurable results for brands like Delta Hotels and YVR. As a business in Vancouver, 40 under 40 honoree, and the product designer behind BonAppify, he has developed a platform that scales waste and carbon reduction through audits. Ben is also the producer of Food Synergy, the world's first documentary highlighting innovation across the entire food value chain. Ben, welcome this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. We're excited to have you here today. And thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction and making this happen. And it's morning for me, so good morning. I'm based on the West Coast, and to acknowledge also the lands. I'm connected from the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, also known as Vancouver, BC. Great, and thank you for the feedback. Please feel free to share any questions in the chat. It's an interactive session, so if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me at any time. So quickly about myself, so I'm the founder of the table, and we empower commercial kitchens to cut food waste in half and achieve net zero emissions, one table at a time, to help commercial kitchens save money, make more money through additional marketing, and also create impact. And when we talk about impact, we talk about different things. Of course, reducing food cost is very important, especially these days with food prices going to the roof, but also around, reducing climate impact, because as we'll see, it's a huge driver of climate change, food and food waste, and also in terms of increasing guest satisfactions and employee satisfactions who are looking to work for companies who are aligned with their values. Yeah, and just a few of the clients we've been working with. So we work with hotels, with tourism organizations, and restaurants mainly. I'm sure you've seen, like food is getting expensive when you go to a restaurant. How many of you have felt like, oh my God, like this used to cost way less before? And it's the reality we are all facing. It's a big challenge. It's getting, more and more expensive for us as consumer, going to the restaurant, but also for businesses who are struggling with those challenges of, like rising food cost. Just to give you an example, like a case of tomato that used to cost $55 last year, like some of our partners was telling me during the peak of the war in Iran, it was costing $110. So that's a big impact on everyone in terms of what you pay in the end. But at the same time, it's also, food waste accounts for 7% of food revenues, which is insane. And that's a lot of things when you think about the margins that are so slim in the industry. And with restaurant, like many of them, 40% of them actually not being profitable, it's a big challenge, and being able to overcome that is essential. And we're really here to think in terms of waste hierarchy, really upstream. So how you design your operations to prevent that to happen in the first place. And then to like the feed people in terms of food donation, then like feed animals, and then composting should be the least preferred option because that's where you really have the lowest return on investment and also the lowest carbon impact because really switching from landfill to composting, of course, it's better, but it's only 10% better versus you could have like 10 times bigger carbon impact if you avoid that food waste to happen in the first place, because most of the emissions happen upstream in the food supply chain. And we talked about higher food costs, and that's just a breakdown of when you go to a restaurant, you pay $100. This is how much people, like businesses, are actually paying for every single like items, and food is definitely a big item, big part of those expenses. And in the end, it's really key to be able to manage that because eventually the survival of your business is depending on it. But of course, we are here around, the climate reality project and people. So carbon reduction is, of course, a key part of discussions and our interests. Food alone accounts for 1/3 of climate change, and yet most food-related, like most carbon action plan and climate emergency action plans focus on energy and transport even in Vancouver. And that's really what we're trying to change to see that food is 1/3 of climate change, and out of that, like 1/3 is wasted. So we approximately, according to the United Nations, it's been estimated that food waste alone accounts for 8 to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions, which is crazy. So like not having food into your climate action plan doesn't make any sense. So really that's a big thing, advocating for food policy and integrated with climate policy is so important because of this huge impact just food has. And we are talking about carbon alone, like in terms of water conservation, it's also key. Just to give you an example, like one single burger, that's the equivalent of 20 showers. So that's just how much, like water is embedded into the food we are having. And if you look at, I made a comparison with how many passengers are in YVR, the water footprint of passengers. And so it's equivalent to one burger of 81 passengers if you just look at your direct emissions. And that, I mean, the direct water footprint, but it's true for emission as well. So it's that this embedded footprint that we don't necessarily talk about much, but that is really key to take into account. And it's not just an environmental issue; it's also like a social issue. Even in our country, like 1 in 7 people are food insecure. So with more than $50 billion of food being wasted every year, it's key to have really a triple bottom line approach, and that's a great opportunity, and it's an amazing, huge opportunity to improve our economy, our environment, and our social impact. No, if we look at what's happening in Canada, so internationally there were like the Sustainable Development Goals framework that were initiated in 2015, and food waste is such a big issue that it's at its own target, 12.3, which is reducing food waste by 50% by 2030. So the only way to get there is to be able to track and measure that, which many people don't do yet. And then in 2016, there was a first standard like sharing around how to track food loss and waste and how to, wherever you are in the food supply chain and wherever you are in the world. And I used to pilot this standard back in the days. But in 2019, Canada has provided and has put in place the first ever food policy. So with different aspects of food production, but food waste being also one of the big section in the policy. If we look more on the BC, what's happening in BC, so in 2016, it's great. Metro Vancouver was one of the leaders who is making food waste like it's mandatory to compost, basically. And that's fantastic. But again, I would say, as I mentioned before, composting is great, but we don't produce food to compost it. So really having some going even further than that and really working on reduction at the source is critical. Then there is also this coalition on the West Coast working around food waste commitments. And a few years ago now, the BC government was also urged to track and report food waste. It's not happening as much as fast as I would like to see because everything government related takes time. But I think the more we are pushing to have more action and leadership around those topics, the faster we'll see results. And now I would like to share with you like a few metrics that if like are in the commercial kitchen environment, or if you know someone, like what you should really like focus on in terms of metrics. So the key metrics is something that everyone in the industry is tracking is food cost percentage. It's apart from the inventory adjustment, it's basically how much you spend on food divided by how much you make on food, and that's a key like economic impact indicator for your efficiency of your business. But one other one is around like food cost per cover. So how much you spend for every single guest eating in your restaurant, and that's a really key way to understand. Because if you have more guests, you'll have more food, you have more cost, you have more waste, you have more carbon emissions. So it's really about this intensity metric which is key, and it's true for cost, but it's also true for food waste, and it's also true for carbon impact. And it's really about bringing all this in terms of efficiency per person eating is really the key here. And the last is also, around the Sustainable Development Goal framework. So there are 17 goals, which are, like being followed by many different international certifications and bodies and governments to be able to align different targets. And of course, reducing food waste is one of them. And SDG 13 on climate action is also the key impact that we are working on. So what can you do to basically waste less and earn more? So one simple thing, you can just track food waste manually. That's what we've been doing for many years now, doing audits in kitchens, identifying best practices, and really understand where is happening, why it's happening, how much is happening to take decision based on data and not based on. I don't think I have a lot of food waste, which I hear a lot. Um, you can also, work on spoilage if that's an opportunity for you, where everything going bad and making sure you have this like proper stock quotations and making sure that you have, like you follow like food safety standards to be able to maximize the rotations and the aeration to make sure you minimize spoilage. But usually spoilage is pretty much control, like under 10% of what's happening. You can also use like menu engineering. So it's about, finding which item on your menu are selling well or not well, or are profitable and less profitable to really also take decision based on the economics of your restaurant. You can leverage creative cooking, and that's one of my favorite, how to make amazing recipes based on surplus food that you would normally throw away. And that's just two examples of things you can do, but there are so many more. And the more you are, like learning about this, the more you realize how much you have to learn. And that's the beauty of it. But really leveraging creative cooking is my favorite hack. Here's an example with one of our clients who was using, like this grinded flour that from surplus that she was using from bread and to make these amazing cookies, which was delicious. The other thing also is around like donation. Like, how many of you think you can donate food past the best before dates? Let me know in the chat. Like, yes, donate or no, donate past the best before dates. What do you think? Don't think so. Probably no. Okay. Actually, you can. There are only 5 types of foods in Canada that have a true expiry date. And so it's most of the time it's like things you don't buy very often, especially except if you have a baby and you buy baby formula, or if you buy supplement bars and meals and this kind of stuff, if you do a lot of training, all of these have a clear expiry date, but everything else is just like best before doesn't mean bad after. So really having your sense, like your nose, can be the best way to really determine if you can. And it's more a question of like maybe quality of the food. Not It's not a food safety issue. So this can be donated even if the taste is maybe not 100% the same. Most of the time it can be, but so yeah, you can still donate if you are past the best before date, and many people don't know about that. And then it's also about, communicating what your efforts, what you're doing. Here's an example with also one of our clients who was tracking and sharing the results and how they improve over time, what are the targets. And it's really about building that trust with people who are like stakeholders who are looking more and more for this kind of information and willing to support businesses who are having an impact. And on the donation side of thing, of course, we don't do donation. We support that 100%. But we are more upstream how you design your operations to prevent that to happen in the first place. But having, like great partners, like in Vancouver, there's Vancouver Food Runners, Second Harvest is another one. Many like organizations are existing to make those links. It's a great way also to communicate around that, also on your carbon saved through doing those donations. And here we see like the chef at the Jelbury Marriott Park Vancouver, who was featured in the Food Synergy movie, the documentary about food waste solutions from farm to table. And yeah, that's if you're interested in the Food Synergy movie, that's yeah, I can put the link in the chat. There is a great way to just to have a look at the different innovative solutions that are existing to be able to prevent food waste all across the food supply chain. So if you want to have a look after the webinar, I would invite you to check the video at foodsynergymovie.ca. We also have like if you want to learn more around like best practices in the industry to prevent food waste both in the kitchen, post-consumer, at events. Like we have a whole academy around like yeah the different best practices in the industry split into modules. So if like you're interested in that, you can get the first module is free, and that's also on our website on bettertable.com. But what I would like to leave you with is that yeah, you should see a compost bin like an ATM and also as a way to save a lot of carbon because there is so much carbon embedded in our food, so much water embedded in our food, and that's a wonderful and powerful way to not only save money but also save the planet. And yeah, and the last thing I wanted to share with you is all the like knowledge and practice around food waste reduction, carbon impact of food. We actually just developed this technology, BonAppify, which is a web platform and a mobile app to be able to do an audit of your operations, quantify all your impact around carbon, water, land, and alignment with all the sustainable development goals. So if you know a commercial kitchen or if you just want to check it out for yourself, you can download the app for free and you can, the first audit is on us. So you can get a free audit for your operations, whether you have an iPhone or an Android. But yeah, I'm happy to like dive more into some questions if you have. And
Yeah, Ben, this was absolutely incredible. And I'm wondering, what are your plans for expansion?
Yeah, I mean, our plans for expansions is like going really across the country first, because historically we worked mainly in BC, because we were doing mainly on-site audits. Even like traveling 12 hours to the Kootenays is not fun, but really having the technology to be able to empower people from coast to coast to coast is really something that I'm excited about, and like having this expanding. We are just in discussion with some tourism organizations in Ontario, in Quebec, and commercial kitchens in Alberta. So that's kind of going to be the next stage for us. And I see Rosalind showing up. Hi. We actually also we've partnered with in the Vernon area with the regional district North Okanagan. And so they did an incredible job to help the region reduce food waste and waste in general. And if you know specifically someone in the North Okanagan area, like this can be made available at no cost for like a year.
That's absolutely incredible. Share with me the links and I can add them to the YouTube video and the sending out of the recording so that people could have opportunity for that. Um yeah, if somebody was looking to adopt this in their business, what would be the first things? Is there any prerequisites that you would advise before they contact you? Like, how would you look at starting this journey?
Yeah, I think starting this journey is really about assessing your situation now. Everyone is starting from a different level in a way or a different efficiency, and that's all fine. Like you should be your own comparison. And it's all about making like better understanding where you stand today, realizing how big the opportunity is for you, and then really taking action, sharing ideas, speaking with each other, like within being within your own sphere or influence, or if you have, your favorite restaurant talking about what are they doing, or being, policymakers and making sure they include food in climate action plans.
We have a question in the chat saying that first they loved the Food Synergy movie. They showed it at their library, but did they understand you correctly that the average restaurant only makes $1 profit off a $100 food purchase?
It's $1 profit for $100 of money that you receive from a customer. So it's not 100% food purchase.
Oh, because that could also include drinks or whatever else they purchase while they're
I
at your
mean, it
restaurant.
could be like rent, like staff, like energy. So
Mm,
when you give $100 to a restaurant, they would have to pay for different things, including food and labor as the biggest ones. But yeah, in the end, the profit margin is extremely low.
that's incredible. Did anybody else have any questions? Please
I
feel
do.
free to drop them. Oh, yes, of course. Please, Rosalind.
Thank you so much, Ben. And yes, I am also in the Okanagan in Kelowna on the unceded ancestral territories of the Silks people. This was really eye-opening for me. I learned so much that I really honestly didn't know or even really think about. Um, I was thinking as you were talking. Since COVID, we've had a really big increase in food deliveries, and I know that transportation costs probably are, one of the big factors in increasing food prices as well, especially in Canada when we have to travel such long distances to get food. Have you noticed, or are you tracking the effects of increasing delivery and increasing transportation distances on food waste and on greenhouse gas emissions?
Yeah, so a few things around here. So in terms of food waste, so that would more be an indirect impact, meaning, there's probably more food waste happening from the farm to the actual restaurant because you have all this like transportation. So this is very hard to track, but there is definitely, like some good studies from Second Harvest that show the impact of that. On the carbon impact, there's I know many people associated that like transportation is a huge driver of greenhouse gas emissions. And it is definitely like a significant contributor, but having started my career in carbon accounting in 2010. And one of the first things that really struck me is actually that when you buy stuff, the carbon impact of transportation is not as big as people think. It's usually around 10%, of the whole impact. And so most of the driver for carbon emissions for food, but it's true for your t-shirt, for your computer, for most of the thing you buy. It's yeah, the transportation piece would only account for 10%. So sure, you could decrease, less transport, more local sourcing, you reduce by 10%, but you still have the 90% of the production impact. So it's better to focus on a sustainable sourcing, or what kind of food you buy, for example. Because you could have like local tomatoes that are harvested with the heating system that consume a lot of energy that may not be the best as like perfectly organic tomatoes that are raised with no nutrient, with no energy, that are coming from Mexico. So I know it's a bit surprising sometimes, and like,
Mm-hmm.
there are always trade-off when you buy stuff, but that's yeah. I hope I answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
That was a lot of great information, Ben. Thank you. Karen also has a question. Karen, please.
Yeah, so I'm part of the New Westminster Climate Action Hub, and I'm wondering, like, if you have any suggestions for us to do some kind of community action to work with commercial kitchens to try to get them to get in touch with you, for example. Have you ever had any organization kind of try to promote BetterTable or have ideas for how to do that? I mean, we know a few restaurant owners, we could talk to them personally, but I'm thinking a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah, so thank you first, Karen. I really appreciate your question and feedback. So in US, we haven't like had a restaurant actively like with who we've been working with. However, I know very well the executive director of Tourism US. So I think, and he actually just promoted our platform like a couple of weeks ago. So what I would suggest you is to connect with Tourism New West. His name is Gerardo. And if you send me an email, I'm happy to connect you. I put my email in the chat here. But yeah, I think involving tourism because they are interested in also like this sustainable and regenerative tourism aspect. So I would definitely advise to do so. And if you know anyone that personally in terms of restaurant owners, I would definitely yeah, don't hesitate to put me in contact, and I would love to have a chat.
Great, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Ben. Anybody have any more questions for Ben?
Yeah,
Ben,
I
where do
have.
you? Oh, please, yes, go.
Yeah, thank you, Ben, for wonderful presentation. I want to ask, like, I'm coming from like the technology background, and I want to ask, like, if someone is like trying to solve that problem of connecting farms to the restaurant directly, so that the food waste and there's a lot of authenticity in the food that is getting into the restaurant. Uh, so what advice would you give in building those technology stack that can build that strong foundation for that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like where are you based?
In Kelowna.
In Kelowna. Okay. So first, I think I would advise you to look at what's existing out there. So I know like Food Mesh, for example, in BC is a good partner in terms of like redistributing food, and they are also involved in the Okanagan to be able to do the matchmaking between either a restaurant and a charity or I mean they don't work that much with restaurant, but they work more with like in the retail sector and the farm sector. But if you think about the different types of connections, having like the local chamber of commerce, I think would definitely help. And if there is any like food policy committee locally in Kelowna. I don't know if that exists in Vancouver. They have a food policy council, for example. I would advise to have this discussion with them. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much for the answer. Yeah, it's really helpful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Any more questions percolating?
Oh, nice. Who named Kelowna as City of Gastronomy?
I think it was I think Tourism Kelowna had something to do with it. But I'm actually not sure what organization actually said Kelowna is a city of gastronomy, but it seemed a good opportunity, maybe whoever's working on that to kind of highlight some of these initiatives.
For sure. No, that is great. And another partner, because I'm hearing a few people from the Okanagan, like is TOTA, the Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association. They are really like one of the leading DMOs, like destination management organizations related to uh, climate impact and sustainability. They are pushing for the biosphere certification. And I think, yeah, it would be great to have stronger links. And if you are interested, I would advise you to get in touch with them. And also with BonAppify. So the idea is not only a way to do a food sustainability audit of your operations, but also once you complete one, you would become eligible to be part of a list of eco-friendlier restaurants. So there would be like this marketing element as well, to be able for people who wants to find, sustainable restaurants, to be able to do so. Because right now, like, what are the alternative? It's like Google that does a terrible job. It's like Green Key Global, which is only for hotel and just not focused on food. And Too Good To Go, which is great when you want a pizza or muffin, but not that great if you want to have a real food experience. So that's what we are building, that to have also this marketing element. Oh, thanks, Usama, for the link.
Wonderful. I didn't know that the app actually had a list of restaurants for consumers as well. It feels like that's a full circle of service at that point. Ben, if you could institute, you talked a lot about SDG goals and your experience in carbon accounting and how some of some larger contributors might be not what those would first conclude or assume to be contributors. If you could implement one carbon solution, one climate solution, ideally from your perspective, what would that solution be, and how would you see it implementing and impacting the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard question. So I think if I were to pick one and kind of embedding, like I would say having food as part of the climate conversation, because like I don't know if you know the project Drawdown, who has been
Mm-hmm.
listing top solutions to fight climate change. Out of the top 20 actions, eight are related to food, and the number one is reducing food waste. And I think the more plant-based diet is number two or three. So, in the top three, two actions are related to food.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. That's a perfect sentiment. Ben, we're really grateful for your time today and all of you have taught us. We're really appreciative. I think everybody has walked away with some new knowledge. So we are definitely grateful for that. And everybody, if you'd like to watch this again or share this with somebody we're going to be posting this on YouTube with all of the links also shared in the chat. Thank you to everybody that has attended today, and we look forward to more innovation speaker series with you in the future. Ben, we look forward to hearing from you in the future as well as the organization continues to grow and you have new wonderful growth to share with us as well.
Thank you so much for having us.